This is the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at www.thepmpodcast.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com.
Hello and welcome to episode number 114. I am Cornelius Fichtner. This is the Project Management Podcast for Valentine's Day, the 14th of February 2009. Nice to have you with us. Let me once again begin by reminding you that until about the end of April 2009, I'll be reducing the number of podcast episodes. I have an incredible amount of work that is ahead of me, and I simply cannot get my work done and deliver a podcast to you every single week. So if you are a listener of the free podcast, then please expect to receive very irregularly scheduled episodes. There may even be a month where you get none at all. But if you are a subscriber of the premium podcast, then there will be no change for you. I have produced a premium episode pretty much every 2 weeks since I started premium, and I will continue to do that. The premium listeners, they are after all supporting the podcast financially month after month, and I appreciate that. Hence, no change for you, even in this hectic time here for me. That much said, here is today's episode for you, and it's a good one. About 2 weeks ago, Margaret Maloney sent out an email that was titled, "Congratulations, you're out of work." This email led to a discussion between us, and I quickly realized that what she has to say will be of enormous help to many of my listeners. After all, not a day goes by at this time on which I don't hear about yet another company that is reducing their staff by several thousand, and some of you may be affected by these layoffs. So here is part one of Margaret Maloney's discussion on how you can turn being laid off into a positive experience. You can hear part two of this discussion in 2 weeks' time. And if you want to hear it right away, then please click over to www.margaretmaloney.com/CYOW.html and sign up to receive a complete package that can help you deal with your situation. And of course, you can find this URL also on thepmpodcast.com. And now, here is Margaret Maloney.
Hi, this is Margaret Maloney, and welcome to Congratulations, You're Out of Work. You're listening to the audio portion of our package. There is also an ebook to go along with this, and I hope that you have both. They are meant to be used together. Before we talk about how this can be a great time in your life, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I work with individuals to help them find peace out of conflict, specifically about the conflict we face at work and around work that sometimes spills over into our personal lives. Because peace is not absence of conflict, it's our ability to cope with conflict. And one of the times in life where we may feel very conflicted is when we are out of work. And to learn more about me, I absolutely invite you to visit my site, margaretmaloney.com. It's MargaretMeloni.com. Or email us at info@margaretmaloney.com. Let's talk about you and this time in your life. I said, congratulations, you're out of work. And you might have thought, she's nuts. Who is this crazy lady? Well, I'm not as crazy as you might think, I hope. And I myself have had a time in life when I've been out of work, as have many of my family members and friends. And I've watched people go through this, and some people are simply miserable. And so when it happened to me, I was bound and determined to make it a positive experience, and this led to my passion for this topic. What I don't think is that it has to be a difficult time. There are absolutely some difficult aspects to being out of work, and we are going to talk about that, and we explore that more in the ebook as well. I'm also inviting you to reframe your thinking and to think about this time as a gift. Think about it. When was the last time that your day belonged to you and not the time clock? When was the last time you had an uncharted day in front of you, a day where you could do whatever you wanted with your time? It's probably been a long time. You've probably been working very hard for a long time. And I would like to get you to a place where you can look at this time and see it as something unique and wonderful, and that one day you can look back on this time and smile and have fond memories. You're not alone. You're not the only person that's out of work. You won't be the first person who's ever lost a job, and you're not going to be the last person who's ever lost a job. It happens more and more these days. And certainly the days of going to work for one company and staying there until you retired are gone for most of us. And now when we find somebody who's worked at the same place for a long time, it's very rare. And still, you may be thinking that what you're going through by yourself, and you're not. And the truth is, the more that you start talking to people about your experience, you're going to learn that it's like there's this whole secret society of people out there. Oh, yes, I've gone through that too, you'll find out. Oh, yes, I was out of work. Or, yes, I'm currently out of work too. Or, my friend is, my sister is. So it's not just you. You're absolutely not alone. You're also not your job. You are your own unique person. You have strengths and skills and fabulous traits, and I bet you did use them in your job. And you know what? You can use them other places in life too. I say this because so many of us place so much importance on work, and we get so much of our self-worth and our self-esteem from work, that when we are not working, some people feel some shame, and definitely people feel some fear. I get that there are absolutely financial complications to being out of work, and I'm not going to make light of that. That can be very difficult. But there's a lot of emotional upheaval tied to it. And we also live in a society that places a lot of importance on work. We have a big culture of being productive and contributing, and you can do all those things even if you're not with a company right now that's giving you a paycheck. But the first few times that you meet somebody and they ask you, so what do you do? Or how's work? It might be difficult. And when people say, so what do you do? Or so how's work? They're not judging you. They're not torturing you. They don't know that you're currently unemployed. That's small talk for us, isn't it? And see, doesn't that show you how we place so much importance on work? Because we do. You meet somebody at a party, you make some small talk about weather or, some safe current event probably, and then we do get into that, so what do you do for a living? But again, you're not your job. And I want to share a quote with you right now from Joseph Campbell. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. The privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. And who you are is this wonderful person who also has had a job and will have another job, by the way. But, I have to tell you something. It wasn't really your job. It was a job you were performing. You'll have another job. There's only one you. And you maybe have been so caught up in the rat race that for a while the job was you. But guess what? You are you. What you do doesn't have to be about how you earn your paycheck. You do so many other things. You are so many other things. You're a friend. You're a partner. You might be a parent. You might be an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent. Maybe you love to read. Maybe you're an excellent seamstress. Perhaps you have a beautiful garden or you have artistic talents. Maybe you build model airplanes or soapbox derby cars, or you are a big brother or a big sister to some young boy or young girl. Your job is just part of a multifaceted you. And that's why I say, relax. It wasn't your job. It wasn't your desk. It wasn't your work uniform. It wasn't your office. Everything is lent to us. The only thing you really get to own in life is you and how you behave and how you choose to experience things. So for that, how's work going question, or what do you do, that's certainly something that you can take and answer and turn to your advantage. And the trick is to be able to just look people in the eye and be calm and just share with them what's going on for you right now in life. It might be something like, what do I do? Well, you know what? When I'm not trying out the latest recipes from Bon Appetit, I'm looking for a senior accounting position. Who do you know who may need a good senior accountant? Or, how is work? Well, it's pretty easy right now. I'm on a kind of sabbatical, and I'm enjoying a break while looking for my next opportunity. However you decide to do it, you want to take control, and you want to be able to tell people what you want them to hear. And I hope that what you want them to hear is that you're having a break, you're having a good time, you're looking for your next opportunity, and here's how you can help. And that's a way to share with people what's going on. You don't want to get too caught up in the negativity. You can share disappointment, absolutely. Gosh, I liked that job. I'm disappointed I no longer have it. I'm going to look for something that's better in the future. But that's good. But sharing negativity turns people off, and that's why I think it's very important for you to practice your response. So practice and be prepared for the inevitable, which is because you're going to go out and you're going to meet people and you're going to network, because you know that is how most people find jobs, right, is through contacts and through people they know. So the more you're out there, the better. And the more you practice, the more at ease and confident you're going to be. So I recommend practicing and doing it in front of your mirror, and having a family or friend perhaps help you too. And then you'll have I'll say what I call your public face ready. So you've got your public face ready. You're still dealing with change. The emotions that you might experience during this time are going to be very different, and I'll say unique to you. It's a really personal experience in terms of everyone goes through it on their own timetable. People feel different things. Some people, by the way, go right to, this is awesome, I'm so happy, I'm free as a bird. And good for them, by the way. A lot of us go through almost the stages of grief. We go through some anger, we go through some denial, maybe some bargaining, and eventually we get to acceptance. And we all do this differently and on different schedules. The irony is, if I told you that you could only stay in this specific job and that job alone for the rest of your life, I visited you one day on your old job and said, glad you're here, you're staying here forever, you never get to go do something else, you might not love that. And you might just tell me, I don't think so, or you're going to show me, right, and you will go get another job just to show me that I'm wrong and you don't have to stay. The thing with change sometimes is that we love it more when we get to decide who makes the change. And we don't always love change when we don't get to vote. And for some of you, that's kind of the driver as to why this whole thing is annoying. Maybe it wasn't in your plans. It certainly wasn't in my plans when I found out that I was going to be out of work. So it wasn't on my list of things to do. I understood that in life, people lose jobs. It could happen. I guess I had been working for so long without it having ever happened to me that I thought maybe I was going to skate by and be one of those lucky people who never went through this experience. Nope. I did go through it. And as I shared with you earlier, I was just bound and determined to make it a positive time. But before we can make this a positive time, some of us, again, some of you are already at the free as a bird, woohoo, let's celebrate. You do need to kind of just let go, experience those feelings, whatever it is you're feeling. If you feel like you're going through a loss, if you feel like it's a breakup, that's okay. You feel what you feel, and you feel it when you feel it. If you're having a difficult time, you should absolutely get help. There's no shame in getting help. it would be silly of you not to get help. I mean, if you were obviously sick, you would go get medicine, wouldn't you? It's the same here. And you want to be careful, I'll say, about overusing your family and friends. Of course, your family and friends are your first line of defense, the people we should be able to turn to when we're upset and for emotional support. But if it's going, I'll say, beyond the level of what can really be discussed or shouldered, so to speak, by family or friends, you know what? Use your pastor, use your priest, use your rabbi, go to a therapist. Again, there are tools out there to help, and you should use them. Your friends and family. Your friends and family are going through a change too. And they're going through this with you, whether you want them to or not. Your friends are along for the ride. If you're the breadwinner, you know, your family might be a little afraid. If you're in a situation where you were singled out or treated unjustly, the people who love you are mad. And they're not necessarily mad at you. They're mad that this has happened to you. And they're mad at the people that they feel did this to you. And so they're going through their run of emotions, and they too will experiencing them differently and at different times than you do. So remember that it's a difficult time for the people around you too. We started by talking about how you're not your job and that there's so much more to you. If you were very career-focused and if you loved your job and spent a lot of time there, it's possible that some of the people around you started seeing you and your job as one and the same. I will share with you that my family and friends saw me work so much that I used to joke and say, well, you know, work is my hobby, which was, by the way, just my excuse for working too many hours and being a workaholic. But that was my excuse. Work is my hobby. I was one of those people that others would say, I don't know what she would ever do if she didn't work. I bet she'll never retire. They probably also said that I would be one of those people who would die as soon as I retired. I'm here to tell you, I love what I do now. I look forward to retiring. I know now that I will always remain active, but that I will be able to retire and be absolutely okay. And how do I know that? I know that because of the time I spent out of work and learning to enjoy it and finding other things in life to do and other ways to achieve my goals and grow myself and feed my self-esteem, so to speak. So you can go through this too. If you're using this time, let's say you decide to use this time to transition to a new career, which is a great idea, by the way. This is a good time to investigate something else that you've been interested in. Maybe you've always wanted to start your own business. Maybe you've really wanted to start transitioning away to something else. This is absolutely a good time to do that. If you're doing that, sometimes your friends and family have a hard time with that. They might be intimidated by the change, or they too are going to experience other change-related emotions. It could be that they just don't understand why you don't just, go ahead, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and go back to doing exactly the same thing that you were doing, because that's what they would do. And that's the right choice for them. They may secretly want to make a change, and so they're a little envious that you think that you're ready to make a change. Or they might, if you're the breadwinner, there might be some concerns about financial security. What if this new thing that you transition to is not secure or doesn't bring in as much money as you brought in for the other? So remember, the people in your life, they have their stuff too, and it's going to surface. How about coming up with some ideas to help make this easier for all of you? You can do things that will make your lives easier so that this is also a fun time for the people around you, especially the people that live with you. You might, for example, decide to run all the errands during the week and free up weekends so that you all have playtime on the weekend. Perhaps you make dinner once a week, take care of dinner. Maybe you do the laundry, and again, you do that during the week so that nobody has to take care of laundry and things like that during the weekend. If you have children, you might consider taking care of, more of the responsibilities, taking care of their lunches, taking them to and from school, driving the carpool, showing up at those parent-teacher association meetings, going ahead and helping out with soccer practice. So there's a lot of things you can do so that nobody is resenting your time off. Another thing that happens sometimes is if you are the only one in the household who's home right now, sometimes people, believe it or not, are a little envious of your time. And when you start hearing the people you're with asking you, well, so what did you do today and what are you doing with your time? At first, sometimes they're curious. But sometimes if they feel like, gosh, I'm working so hard and there she is, there's Margaret, she's at home having fun, then sometimes they become resentful. My observation has been if you kick in and do extra, it helps to nip those feelings in the bud. How's that? I would say try also not to dwell on it. So I don't think that every morning and every night your conversation with each other should be about the fact that you're out of work. When you are a family unit, of course, the implications of being out of work, they do need to be discussed and dealt with. If it's difficult, this is another situation, another opportunity to go ahead and get some help and go to somebody who can help you talk about it together. You don't want this to be a wedge. You don't want this time away from work to make you separated as a family. You want it to bring you together. If anything, you want this experience to bring you closer, not drive you apart. That's where I'm going with that. A lot of how you're handling this is about your outlook. It's about your outlook. It's about how you perceive this. And when I think back, and I told you I saw some people go through this time and they were absolutely miserable, a lot of that is self-induced. It's because they thought that they should be miserable. They thought that this should be a horrible time, or they were convinced it was going to be a horrible time, or other people had told them, oh, this is going to be a horrible time. So be mindful of the company you keep and of the stories you hear. People mean to be helpful, and some people really are helpful, and some people less so. And unfortunately, some of the people who aren't as supportive as we want them to be can be people who are very close to us in our lives. So you're going to want to develop some filters and really be careful what you let in, so to speak. What do you really pay attention to and what thoughts you let in? So, when you see a friend and they tell you some crazy horror story about their friend's cousin's sister who was out of work for 5 years, so what? Don't listen. And how is that helpful? And if they even thought for a minute, they would realize that they're not helping you in any way and they're really just being, they're sabotaging. On the other hand, you might be pleasantly surprised at where help does come from. And this is why it is so important to be able to go out and mix and mingle and talk to people and just, again, look them in the eye and say, I'm looking for my next opportunity. Because you don't know who is going to tell you about a great position, a great contact, a great new job search service. So you know what? When somebody reaches their hand out to you, take it. And one day, you'll probably be able to return the favor.
And that was part 1 of Margaret Maloney's Congratulations, You're Out of Work. You can hear part 2 of this discussion in 2 weeks' time. And if you want to hear it right away, then click over to margaretmaloney.com/CYOW.html and sign up to receive the complete package that can help you deal with your situation. And of course, like I said earlier, you can find this URL to Margaret Maloney on the PM Podcast's website at www.thepmpodcast.com. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and until next time.